Good morning. Call meeting order. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. We're going to look for a approval of minutes. Everyone had a chance to review them. I'll look for a motion. Paul, thank you, sir. Do I have a second? Ed, thank you. Any discussion about the minutes? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great. Let's jump right into resolutions of the day. We've only got the two, and I do want to let everyone know, unfortunately, I've got a doctor's appointment scheduled at 9:30 today, so Mary Ellen will probably upgrade this meeting once I leave. So, first resolution of the day is resolution confirming the environmental review and approval of the addition of new trail sections into our county's snowmobile trail system. Dave, you want to give us a quick overview of what that means and why it's cool?
Yeah, just it's a requirement of the state parks that when you make amendments to your trail system, you do an environmental review based on how much impact it may or may not have. And we do have a couple of trails where we're making very small changes, so small in fact that it doesn't really meet any of the requirements under the state quality or state environmental quality review law. So it's de minimis basically, and we're just required to officially say that we looked at it and that there's based on the amount of activity that's taken place and the type. It's determined to be what they call a type 2 action, which means you don't need to do anything else except give it the look you already did.
Great. Let me look for a motion to discuss. Roy, thank you. Second. All right. Any discussion?
Dave, will your department act as a lead agency, please?
Well, we don't even need to establish lead agency because this initial review determined that the category that it fits in doesn't need a further study of the impact. We don't have to say it's negative or positive. We said doesn't really qualify to be reviewed further, so we don't establish a lead agency.
Thanks.
Right.
And the $10,000 word was de minimis. Right?
It's a great word.
Can you call it?
I like that.
Oh, close. All right, excellent. Any other questions?
Great, I pulled that out of my hat.
That was good. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great, thank you. EP2, resolution amending our capital project number 80, the Oswego County Government Website Project. I'll start off the correct way this time. I'll look for the motion to discuss. Roy, do I have a second? Paul, thank you. All right. Dave, why don't you give us a little kick up on this one as well?
Yeah, so as the resolution says, in 2018, we established this capital project 80 when we rebuilt the Oswego County .com website, and there's a little bit of money left in that capital project. It's really time that we did something to the Visit Oswego County website, and rather than start a brand new website capital project, talked to Phil and he said, why don't we just amend the website capital project we already have by clarifying which website you want to work on and then adding some dollars to it to move that forward. And so that's our request.
Okay. And if we can, as just a quick reminder to the group, we do receive about $550,000 a year is what we budget, I think, somewhere in that range. In bed tax revenue, that money is often used for, well, required to be used for tourism and that type of requirements. The website, at least the maintenance of the website, has been, my understanding is, comes out of that money as well, correct? Tourism related responses.
Yeah, so the tax money pays for a lot of different things, even some salaries for the tourism folks, and that's an allowable expense under law. Anything that could be used to drive new visitors here, and preferably overnight stays, but basically bring new people or bring people back. I was hoping that we would have a second quarter med tax report for you today because the med tax year starts in November. So the first quarter is November or December, January. It ends in November. The first quarter is December, January, February. So our second quarter would have been March, April, May. And I had asked the treasurer if they have a summary of the second quarter results yet, but they didn't have those ready for today. First quarter was pretty good, not back to pre-COVID, but much better than last year. Yeah.
Great. All right. Any discussions? Great.
Is this a local person we're gonna work with?
We don't, we would have to go out with an RFP to solicit vendors to do the work.
And there's nobody in the department that can handle this?
No, not even close.
Does this list every business in Oswego County? What does it do?
It pretty much lists everything there is to see and do in Oswego County, including references to businesses that are in the tourism sector. Yeah.
Dave, if I could, when was this website last updated?
I thought that was in
It's
the,
like 2011 or something.
yeah, I thought it's in
Yeah.
information memo.
Yeah, 2011.
2010 to 11.
Yeah,
So we're talking
So-
over 10 years.
yeah, it's over.
In IT language, that's antiquated time. That's
Yeah.
a big,
I do know last time we had it, we did solicit local website designers. I'm assuming we would do the same this year as well.
Sure.
So are you planning on a start over from scratch or a rebuild with what you've got? Is there, what content management system do we use, you know?
I think the bulk of that one is WordPress on the back end. But we want to make it as interactive as possible, so there may be some other technologies besides WordPress that come into play.
Well, when you say interactive, you mean that the staff is able to update easily as well, or you mean the end user is interactive?
Well, yeah, so it's important that it be easy for the staff to update. We have a couple of good people that should be able to do that, right? They're long enough to figure that out.
Yeah.
Matt was supposed to be one of those people.
As he kicks him under the table.
If you haven't been by the tourism office lately, I think there's a red circle on the door with his picture in the middle and the line that goes down through it.
Making only the seventh such building in Oswego County.
You know, this is a public meeting. So just to finish a couple of thoughts here. So, I mean, it seems to me it would make a lot of sense to stick with WordPress. I mean, instead of rebuilding something, if we've already purchased the templates and things like that, you know, because it's a pretty nice looking website. You just want it to be able to, when you've already been tracking visitors and you have some interaction with you have advertising on it now, or?
We have the ability to sell advertising on the website. We haven't really done that yet. There's some downside to that, but one of the things, there's ways to build in some more like automated responses to people who go and look for certain things. And I think, we want to try to explore that a little bit more.
And you already have an app or that is associated with Visit Oswego County?
Not really an app, so to speak. We had some third-party apps that we had at one time. One was with a company that deals with state and federal parks, but they stopped providing that service. I think they lost the federal park contract.
So that was the one that we were advertising on, or they were advertising for us, like for free, or were we paying for that?
Well, we had a contract with them to have our information listed on various pages within their site.
And then all that was bumping back to us when
Yes.
people clicked on those, it bring it back to the website.
Yeah, and we have banners on sites all over the place.
So I guess my encouragement would just be like not to start over from scratch, keep WordPress on the background, and then make sure that it's, as it's being updated, people within the office are able to, pretty easily update the information.
Yeah.
You're looking for a multi-year contract here, obviously.
Yeah, typically, like the one that we had when we did the county government website, it was a 5-year contract where at the end of 5, which we just experienced, they came in and gave you like a mini rebuild to bring it up to speed, and this probably would be like a 5-year term as well, but you don't really want to wait too much longer than that. The only reason we didn't do this on its 5-year cycle was because the government website was a much higher priority. It was, with no disrespect to the people who built it many years ago, it was way overdue for a rebuild. And we knew that taking 2 of them on at the same time wasn't going to be feasible, both because of the cost and because of the work that's involved.
So there should be a fair amount of integration too between the 2 sites.
Yeah, and I don't know if we'll get a proposal from the company that did the government website, but there'd be some advantages with respect to branding and look and feel.
How much
for
was
Oswego
left over from the original?
So the original was funded at $100,000, and there's about 24 in there right now, I think. So we just picked the 100 because that's where we funded the first one, thinking that prices in the last 5 years probably have gone up some, and we spent about 75 on the first time around. We think 100's a fair number to cover what responses we might get.
Thank you. Got Marie then Frank.
Roy does make a good point. There's a lot here already, which seems like it would make it much easier than a full rebuild. But I'm just perusing the restaurants. You're missing so many. And Alex's is closed. Who updates this and who monitors this? Whose responsibility?
Well, we have 2 people who make changes to the website, and it's not like every day they go in and say, okay, I got to update the website today. Usually somebody brings something to our attention, we go in and fix it. So,
Okay, but that was a big move. Alex's has
Yeah.
been closed for some time. You have a new vendor in there. Canales isn't even listed. There's a lot of stuff not listed. So I don't know, is it us that's not feeding the information to them?
yeah,
I'll read the whole website this evening. I'll really dig in, but it seems like there's a lot missing at this point. Just say the owner of the business have to pay to get on this, or they're just, there's a lot missing.
That's actually a really good point. We've got an opportunity coming up here, and we'll hear in a little bit from our friends in Operations Oswego County. But there is some money that was earmarked to do a really direct and interactive business portal that they're going to be working on over the next couple of months, years. I think it'll be very important for us as a county, and especially with our tourism side, to be interacting with that, to really be highlighting what other partners are doing. Chamber of Commerce, I know, does a pretty good job of it as well. Wouldn't be a bad idea to make sure that as we put together our site, we make sure we interact directly with them, especially when, if someone comes into our site and it's a business looking to develop, it would be a great idea to find a way to shoot them right over to Operations Oswego County. So, as we start to put this together, and I also love the idea of some sort of app-based. I mean, more and more we're seeing people interact with the internet with businesses through apps, not through the websites. So, if we can start to put something together where we're a little more ahead of the curve, I think that'd be very helpful for this. And I don't know if it's the same people who build the website that build the apps.
sometimes.
But I think we need to be looking for that. Some sort of interactive visit Oswego app would be amazing. If it's done well. We've seen bad apps turn people off. It's got to be done well. But we've got some money to spend, so let's do it right if we're going to do it.
Do we know who does Ithaca or Buffalo's?
Not off the top of my head, no.
I think it'd be worth looking at some great sites
I agree.
and seeing how they're applied.
Typically, that's what we would do, is to go in and find like best case examples, and then say to the vendor, we're looking for things like they did here or they did over here, and we refer.
I just think we should find in the contract an update. Like, it should be like an update maybe every 60 days or something for changing businesses, but to miss them is pretty
Yeah.
bad miss.
We have a staff meeting every Thursday at 3:00, and I made a note to bring that up this week, to find out who's responsible
Go
for that.
business by business and find out a list. Can you get a list of newly applied
We've
businesses?
talked about that a bit too.
Newly open.
That's a good idea. I don't know how available that is. I did reach out to clerk's office to kind of get an idea of all the Oswego County businesses. If any of you have ever done that, it's incredible. The list is thousands long because it's every single LLC, every individual who's ever created a business. There's no way to say, give me all the restaurants. But I'm hoping at some point between the Partnership of Operations Oswego County, maybe Chamber of Commerce, maybe our own office, we can start to put together, and specifically it came to head with COVID going on, when we need to get information out to our businesses. That was difficult, right? When we did our restaurant recovery program, it would have been nice to have a full list of every single restaurant that's active. Now, we had some information
We
with the
did.
treasurer, I think with the health department, we had some.
Health department's
But-
got to inspect every restaurant.
Yeah, so we
in
have some
every
of that,
town.
but there's
Yeah,
some that,
So we have the list. There's
Yep.
no reason that website's not complete.
sure,
Yeah.
it's something, I think it's a great point, so.
Yeah.
And maybe as a homework assignment to those who are interested, if you want to wander around the internet a little bit and find places that you are impressed with, and shoot it back to Dave and his folks to kind of use as a template or we'd love to see ours look like this. I think that'd help. So, great, Frank, go ahead.
Two things, bed tax was mentioned twice. Dave, you said, first quarter wasn't bad, but what was it actually, you know?
I apologize, Frank, I don't have that number at the top of my head, but I do know, and I can let you know, or anybody else who's interested.
Second thing is, we talked about this website being not updated since 2010 or 2011. And I can remember sitting right in this room, and there was an upgrade that was being done as far as notifications of people that visited the website, because I can remember Legislator Regal was a little upset because it was kind of triggering people on it. And, so what was that upgrade? Because didn't we do an upgrade since 2010 or 2011 on this thing?
I don't believe that on the Visit Oswego County site we did, but you might
On
have,
the tourism.
that might have been, this is the tourism website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you might have recalled discussions about
Right,
going
on the
to the
tourism
government
one,
page.
yeah. Okay, all right. Okay.
Great, right, oh, sorry, go on.
I just wanted to make sure that these have to be switching to the .gov, right?
Yes,
So they're gonna take that into consideration and not reinvent the wheel twice.
correct.
Well, wouldn't we keep the .coms and have them point to the .govs?
You can do that for a period of time, but eventually you have to the state legislation wants everything to be directly for security purposes.
We can't even own them?
Well, we still own them.
Oh, okay.
And we will point .com to .gov.
Yeah, because you never see if you type it in, because even if you typed it in wrong by accident, you typed in the .com, you can invisibly just deliver the person to the .com. .gov.
We'll keep it set up that way as long as the state legislation allows us to.
Okay. To Frank's point though, my concerns back then had to do with privacy concerns.
Right, that's what it was.
That's what I had brought up. To Tim's point about looking at other sites to see what looks nice and try to send it over, or see what works well, we can also, as legislators, pop into our sites whenever we see anything that is clunky or doesn't work for us, when we're looking for something ourselves, and try to get back to them to see if we can fix that. And that was really important at the beginning of that last website, was to say, okay, I couldn't find this, or can we fix this, or even when there was mistakes, look at your own information that's on there, make sure it's on there correctly and updated. If you changed your email address or something, you want your constituents to be able to find you. And the last thing is the Airbnb update. Can that just be quarterly sent to all of us on this committee?
Airbnb or
Bed tax, we should just get that automatically as a committee.
Sure.
And I mentioned Airbnb as on my mind. Did that change to state legislation go into effect that we're getting that? It didn't happen.
Welcome to the room, Rich. It was not. in this year's legislation, and our, did you have conversations with the Assemblyman about that this year?
It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, we have to have somebody that'll carry the legislation for us in Albany. And,
You're talking occupancy tax?
yeah,
Our occupancy tax is limited by the 6 or fewer units being excluded. We've sent examples of what other counties have. The local law cannot be contrary to the state law. So these agreements with Airbnb, VRBO, we cannot enter into them, although they benefit us on sales tax, which they should be paying anyway. The occupancy tax cannot be collected on 6 or fewer units. So state law would need to be changed. And that
The state law would need to be changed because the local law needs to comply with the state.
Right.
We've already supplied them the language to change it since 2017 every single year.
It's removing the 6 or fewer units, and there's discussions about adding campgrounds or other, throughout the years. But the core is removing the 6 or fewer units, and then there's, inn, lodge, boarding house, these other definitions, and we want to pick up 1 or 2 other of the definitions just
I didn't get
to
into the
cover.
weeds. We've done this before.
Yeah, so I've got a whole memo on it that we got samples on it as well.
So the answer is no.
I guess the question is, have we formally requested anyone to carry that legislation? Have we done that?
I thought we did.
I don't know.
No, I was told not to do that because it had to go through whatever back channels.
All right, why don't we,
Chairman, whatever.
why don't we, let me do this. We'll put this as an agenda item for next month. We'll get some information together, we'll discuss it next month, if everyone's comfortable with that. Because you're right, this keeps coming up and we have not moved.
Makes sense to call the senator and assembly members.
Somebody should do that.
Because the home rule request that's done after a bill is introduced and numbered is not generally what Senator Ritchie wanted. She wanted something prior to that
Okay.
by way of a home rule.
Do we know what that looks like timeline?
It was a resolution requesting, it
Goes?
was just, it's the resolution we passed in 2017 is what she asked for last time.
Okay.
Well, apparently we should start now to do it for
Well-
next spring.
Well, that's part of the question too, is obviously we're going to have a new senator as
Right.
well. So this might be, why don't we do this? Let me, Roy,
Are
if you're comfortable,
we going to have 2
well, yeah, we'll have potentially 2 senators for this, 2 new senators.
For this county?
Either way, so.
with the new
Only one assembly person.
split the county in half?
Yeah.
Why don't we do this? If everyone's comfortable, it's a good question. It does keep coming up. Why don't you and I chat about it a little bit? We'll see if we can come up with something. If it makes sense to have it as an agenda item next month, we will. If it's just something we need to handle, we'll do that. And then we'll report back out.
Because Dave had figures on what we are potentially losing.
Right. I think we've seen that a number of times.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's way off topic, but.
No, it's a fair question.
Yeah.
well, we'd love to have the money.
Let me
Should
look
have
into that a little bit.
We're missing, what, 150,000 a
Potentially,
year?
Yeah.
Potentially.
Okay, good discussion. Any other discussion about the website? Any discussion? All right. If not, call for vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I apologize for being late. They mentioned the fact that our domains, not the website, but domains will need to have.
That's
coming out here shortly. Okay, great. And that's it now for resolutions of the day. I apologize, I've got to excuse myself, but Mary Ellen, if you wouldn't mind taking over from here, I appreciate it. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. All right. Up next is the county administrator. Bill, could you give us an update on the state legislation impacting the county as it does with DEP?
Yes, in every committee packet, there is a summary of state legislation that passed in this last session of both houses that affects the work of the committee or is under the committee's jurisdiction or interest. Some of these are agricultural and in nature. Cooperative Extension might be able to comment on them better than I can. Loan forgiveness programs for the Young Farm Loan Program, things of that nature. There is also a law that codifies what our IDA already does, and it requires IDAs to send notification of proposed financial incentives for a project to the effect of local taxing jurisdictions. That is basically a a report on the effect on the taxes that we would collect, versus a pilot that is awarded. There is new language affecting building codes and equipment efficiency standards for energy efficiency. That's going to affect the town and city codes more than it will us. A moratorium on cryptocurrency mining, in case you were thinking of putting in a cryptocurrency mine here in Oswego County. And as we've been talking about, it mandates that all governments transition their websites to .gov. We already own Oswego County NY.gov. And according to the issuing agency, no other .gov with the name Oswego County in it would be given to anybody else. So although there's other versions, OswegoCounty.gov or OSWCO.gov, none of those will be issued to anybody because we already own Oswego County New.gov and established ourselves as the government agency. This was originally going to be put into effect next year. NISAC recognized and listened to the county saying that's too fast for us to do this transition. They successfully lobbied to get that changed to August 1st of 2024. So we have time to do this transition, not only through pointing our current .coms to the .gov domain, but it also gives a softer landing on the monetary, financial end of it, changing of our advertising, the cards, the stationery, whatever tractor trailers we have wrapped out there, things like that, will all have to eventually be transitioned to .gov.
Emails.
And, email. Well, email is part of the pointing. They've also, these are included just for you to read through to see if there's anything you want or feel that the county should comment on before the governor signs these. She has till the end of the year, but she could sign them at any point during the year. And I think if it gets down to the last couple of weeks of the year, they become law anyway, with or without her signature. But if there's anything you feel the county should comment on to either urge her to sign or urge her to veto, let myself or the chairman know, and we'll get that moving.
Great.
Bill, can you explain the incentives complete street? Do you know anything about that?
I don't know too much about it other than there's apparently some financial responsibilities to municipalities that are going to be reduced if they incentivize future design around this complete streets design concept, similar to what the city was doing out here on 104. So if you incentivize your own county or your towns to include that design concept when roads are built or reconstructed, it says there's a reduced financial responsibility to us. That might mean that the state will kick in some money to do that.
So this isn't to help us with paving. This is
if we repave a road and include complete street designs.
as in a medium that makes it nearly impossible to plow in our weather.
Yeah.
We were doing that.
They just peel those outcroppings off the first 6 feet of snow.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's different components to the complete streets concept package, and some are like signalized crosswalks, bike lanes, just multimodal uses and safety protections, transit stops. There's a whole list of things that fall under the package that they call complete
It
streets.
seems like we should become fluent in it and really look into it. I mean, if they're going to pay part of it, highway construction's involved.
Mhm.
Right. Can I get a copy of that? Complete street, whatever they're,
Yeah, I'm not sure what highway has on that, but I'll see what I can find and I'll get it to you. I mean, we don't really own any streets, we own roads, which are mostly rural.
I understand, but, I mean, I have a portion of the city, and they're talking about doing a walkway out by,
Mhm.
the lake. I mean, I think any roadway that we can improve is a win, because
Yep.
most of them look like they've been bombed. So it would be nice to get the roads really up to snuff as much as we could, even if it meant using this to advantage. I don't know, I need to know the laws.
Anybody else want to see that besides Marie?
I would.
Right, and I included the bill numbers so that
Right.
if you want to go to the state website, look up the bill numbers, see the exact language of what they're
Oh,
intending to help with.
that would be helpful.
Can't hurt.
Does anybody have any other questions to Phil about any of the new rules and regs and potential bills?
The farm loan forgiveness looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does. Okay. Alrighty, let's go right on to community development, tourism, and planning. Update, David.
Next week, I'm hopeful that on Monday, I'll be bringing the deputy on board and start mentoring and training him to take over the tourism, housing, and offices. I am losing a planner at the end of this week. Planners are in high need right now, and there's counties and municipalities all over the state advertising for them. And this is our newest planner. When those of you that remember Tim, who worked in our office, he was here for a little while. He was a planner in Binghamton. He came here, worked for us for a couple years, and now he's down outside of Philadelphia. Erin came to us from Jefferson County, and now she's going someplace else. The salaries in the planning field are very, very competitive, and the openings are extraordinary right now. I think that there was a period in time when planning was an education field that was more popular than it is now, and so it's a supply and demand thing. The folks who studied planning in the 70s and the 80s are aging out, and there hasn't been as much addition to people with those skills in the market as there has been people leaving the market. So.
Was this a surprise leave, or did you know that she was leaving?
Well, she wasn't able to really find good housing options here at a reasonable price, and so she's been commuting from Watertown for the time that she's been here. And I guess I'm not 100% surprised, because that was difficult for her, and in fact, she'd asked about working from a remote location, but we really don't have those two options available to our employees. And she was, even if we did, I think, because she'd only been here, not that I trust her, but the length of time that she had been working here, I might not have been comfortable enough to say, yeah, I can set you up with a home office and we'll be fine. I have folks who I could say that to, but for a newer employee, I'd be reluctant to do that.
And so you've started looking for a replacement?
Coincidentally, I had a person who applied for the public information officer job that's open, who has a PhD in urban planning, and I called him and said, why on earth would someone with a PhD in urban planning be applying for a $35,000 a year job in public information? He said, well, I had no idea what the salary was. But quite frankly, he said, I had been to Oswego and interviewed for a job at the university, which I didn't get, but I really kind of fell in love with the place, and when I saw this opening, I thought, well, maybe this will get me to Oswego. So he's interested in this opening, but the salary that's set for that entry-level spot isn't sufficient to have a move here. So
What is that salary?
about 55. I'm pretty sure if I could get north of 60, I could convince this to come here, but that's a process, and it involves either creating a new title within the existing bargaining unit, or moving the titles from that bargaining unit to the middle management bargaining unit, where there's more flexibility and there's a for these types of situations. So,
Repeating theme.
pardon me?
Repeating theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, between now and next meeting, I'm hoping to maybe have some questions about
How to do this.
how to do this and ask you for your consideration.
Do we have a resume on him?
Yes, I do, because he had actually applied for the public information officer, is how I came across it.
I'd love to see it.
We can send that to you as well.
Okay, do you have anything else, David?
No.
Anybody else? Roy?
So I think it was last meeting we talked about the farmers markets and transportation. I thought I'd asked for whatever we were going to use to advertise about that, so we could see what they're using to advertise the new program to transport people to the farmers markets. And I thought it would be useful for the legislators to know if we had a list of farmers markets, to just know their schedule so they can communicate that to constituents. You know, put it on Facebook or email, whatever, go out to the farmers market, blah, blah, blah. Just help support the local food industry, local farmers.
So, I haven't seen the ads yet. I think they're still in development for that. They'll be out.
The markets will be done by then,
Yeah.
so maybe we're not bothered.
Right.
Well,
Bus schedule too. We can't advertise the bus schedule. Well, that's.
right, I just want to see what's going on with that. But you know, we got a couple months left with farmers markets.
Should have been ready back there though.
Yeah. Well, we had to go through a lot of hoops, trust me, to be able to even see if we could get this. So I think this is the first year, it's an initial trying to get these routes set, trying to get permission to get these routes, what money we're gonna use. There was a lot of front work that had to go on to it. So if we can get it at all going, it'll be utilized next year a lot earlier.
Well, and also the state somehow screwed up on the vouchers that they use. We learned yesterday from OFA that the vouchers were not printed properly or something that had to do with, they give the voucher packets to up to $1,000 people can spend at the farmer's market. So I just thought that, you know, knowing the transportation piece and when the vouchers are out, trying to combine that.
Yeah.
instead
Less
of,
squash.
$1,000. They give them $1,000.
I think that's what she said yesterday. They increased it. They're doing fewer voucher packets, but they're more money.
Yeah, same amount of money, but they put more in each package, so there's less packages. And so we don't get as many to distribute as we had in the past.
I mean, that's my recollection of what she said yesterday.
Yeah, I think you're pretty close.
I don't have my notes from yesterday. So.
Who was saying that yesterday?
Sarah.
Sarah.
From
Okay.
Office of the Aging.
Okay.
Okay, so whatever information we can get about that as it's getting dispersed, and if we can help to disperse it, you know, if we can help to let people know about the transportation, about the voucher packets that are going to be available, you know, and when and where the farmers markets are, that'd be great to know.
Yeah.
So we're
we could
going
distribute.
to everyone but Central Square. Right?
Yep. But we had to get the list. We need to get the list so that everybody does know where they are. Some people might not be aware of it. Okay? Anybody have any other questions for Dave? Ed?
Dave, can you bring us up to date on the approved ARPA applications where that funding, any of that's been dispersed?
Yep.
And then
So,
part two would be just, where are we with the next one?
what you authorized, we reached back to all those people and said, congratulations, the legislature has authorized you to move to contract. Here's the things we need from you to be able to do that. We're compiling that. We have most of those that you authorized. Rich has been working on the boilerplate side of the contract, and now we'll just take each of the individual project info to give to him to insert in that boilerplate, get it back to those folks. So we asked for details on scope of work, the type of your business organization. There's well,
Yeah, and there are two with fiscal agents that receive most of their funds, and there's different guidance on whether we can use the fiscal agents or not. May have to change the resolution to either mention the fiscal agent or give the money to the entity that was awarded. One's the Research Foundation at SUNY for one recipient, and the other is a Center State. But just to follow up, Dave asked Treasury for guidance or an opinion on that we can't pay Center State and say that the money, award to one entity and pay Center State all the money and then report it back necessarily. We want to make sure it lines up, but we want to make sure that it complies with ARPA.
Is that funding for Fulton Block Builders?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Treasury is not real good about responding. Usually within like 30 or 40 days, you'll get a response that says, thanks for contacting us. You know, if you will refer you to the final rule that came out.
Yeah, and I
Frequently asked questions. It's like, if I could find it in the final rule, I wouldn't have sent you the email asking for the answer.
Yeah, and another site said that you can use a fiscal agent, but the next question was you can't use a fiscal agent that is eligible to receive ARPA funding on its own. So SUNY may be a question there. So we just want to make sure it complies, and then the resolution would need to follow the money, obviously. So we want to make sure if it's they may need to be amended.
Yeah. Oh, dotting i's, crossing t's.
Yeah.
What about the FOIL? That, you had to make sure that they understood that any information they give us is available to everybody.
Yeah, they signed off on that.
Oh, good.
That was part of this certification process.
That's generally true with anything in county operations. Their bank account number, their tax ID number, things like that would be exempt from FOIL.
Okay.
Or confidential under a regulation or statute, we would redact.
Right.
But
Just for them to be aware that
right. If
this
there's something
information
that's
is
trade
out
secret
there.
or proprietary, which doesn't seem to be the case
Right.
here, but generally the whole shooting match should be available under FOIL, subject to those.
Exemptions.
Yeah. One of the more important parts to that was to get, so the applications were fairly general in their description. And so now that we're going to actually fund them, say, please give us a detailed scope of work, what you're going to do with the funds, and what kind of documentation you'll be able to supply to us so that we can verify that, so that we'll have the right audit process and trail and say, here's your contract that said you're going to do this, show me the documents that verify that. Just like I said, crossing the I's, dotting the T's.
Yeah.
But we'll be getting some of those out pretty quickly here, now that those are coming
And the
in.
next set of applications?
So, my understanding that the legislature had some concerns about process, and I spoke to the chairman about that. I told him that I was uncomfortable moving anything else forward with the existing task force because we lost a private sector member, and I wanted to make sure we still had some balance there. I did speak to a person yesterday who has some philanthropy background, actually serves on the board of the Shimon Foundation, and we were talking about some applications he had, and would they be better suited for the ARPA money than for their money, and then I had some that were going out the direction. And so I explained to him our process, and he said, well, I'd be interested in serving on your task force if the chairman wants to talk to me about that. So I think he'd be a very good addition to that, since he already has foundation experience. He has his own foundation. He administered a foundation for his father when he passed away, and now he serves on the Shinman board. So he's well versed in that process and reviewing requests and asking the right questions. I think he'd be a good member for the task force, but that's up to the chairman.
The only thing, if he's already got some projects that he's looking to see if they would be good for ARPA, would that be any kind of a conflict?
I don't think so, because we try to do that as well. Like when I would bring things to the task force, I'd say, this is what they want to do. For your information, there's a state or federal program that also pays for these types of things, so we might want to refer the applicant to that source as well.
Okay.
So it's part of the discussion.
Okay.
But the opioid money, we're very close to receiving some of the opioid settlement money, and mentioned to Dave that if something's eligible for the opioid restricted side, it would be better to pay out of that pot of money as opposed to ARPA, because there are certain things that we can only spend the opioid money on. There's unrestricted and restricted.
Right.
Restricted, if the program fits that criteria, it'd be better to go with that settlement money than ARPA necessarily, because it frees it up for other stuff.
Freeze it up.
And that was my recommendation to the task force on the request we had from Farnham, because it was 50% for opioid, 50% for alcohol. So,
Okay. Marie?
Could any of the opioid money be redirected toward a new hospice?
I'd have to look at the criteria on the restricted side, but there is an unrestricted portion to reimburse the county. The intention of that was to reimburse the county for past opioid-related societal, law enforcement, social services, treatment expenses, but it's generally unrestricted. So,
And it would only be temporary.
yeah, that's only, there's a payout over X number of years on those settlements.
Just a shame.
Oh, the whole hospice thing just kills me.
I agree, I'd like to see it too. Oh my God, the nursing.
It's the staffing. We need the more money to be able
Yeah,
to.
but it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
We're all gonna be there someday.
Yeah. And we had such a great program
yes.
to win national awards, and
I
to let this
witnessed
happen
it,
is
so it's
that really,
really.
that was, to me, is one of the biggest shames that we had. Any other comments for David? Okay. You're on deck here. Operation Oswego County.
You guys are better.
You same one at the breakfast.
Well, that's, it's a bonus because you went.
Other email.
I always,
I don't take anything else with County. I don't use it out, they all know that.
Okay, because that's why I've been sending things to you.
I don't even open it.
All right. Very good. That's why I asked the question.
Sure, I would, thank you.
Better version than the one you got.
Okay. Sometimes I don't say.
Austin, Roy didn't get one.
Oh.
I'll stick with the one that
I took mine and gave it.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. Here to present the presentation that we presented at our annual meeting back on June 16th, held at the Lincoln Ontario Event and Conference Center. It was a good meeting. We had approximately about 130 people in attendance. It's the first time we've been having the opportunity to host an annual meeting live for 2 years. So it was good to get back together with the folks. Kristen Nelson, the plant manager of Novellis, was a keynote speaker, and we're proud to have her at our meeting. And you have in your Senate now, which is circulating a hard copy of the annual report for 21 for Operation Oswego County. This slide presentation will kind of do a little overview of that annual report, and then it will jump into some things that are more current that are going on, and some pretty exciting things happening. Okay, Matthew is the controller. I don't want to touch the keyboard.
I can say, all you gotta do is hit forward. Is it the down key or to the right?
We had advancing problems at the conference center. We had a mouse that just, every time you touched it, it'd skip about 3 slides.
Oh, that's no fun.
Okay, some of the projects in 21 that Operation Oswego County and the IDA worked on, graphics in the city of Fulton. Business is a minority-owned business. It was formed in 2019. Actually, this Leroy, this is the former Leroy building. When they expanded and moved to Oswego, this building was a vacant building, and Upward Graphics leased it to expand their business, and then they ultimately bought the facility. Solar project in the town of Richland, Omni Richland. This is a 5 megawatt solar project being developed by Omni Novartis out of Boston. $6.8 million project. We have a bunch of these solar projects that are going on. Kathy Cakes in the town of Olney. We've been working with Kathy for a number of years when she relocated and expanded to Volney, and then bought the Big Dipper ice cream shop as part of her business. She employs 6 people now, 6 full-time and 10 part-time people. This was a project that she was a micro-enterprise graduate from the training program, and so we provided a micro-enterprise loan to her to make some improvements to the facility. Mother Earth's Baby in the city of Oswego. They significantly expanded their cloth diaper business, invested about $92,000 in equipment. They created three new jobs, and this is a woman-owned business. The rooftop at La Tatro in the city of Oswego, that was partially financed with the IDA and Pathfinder Bank. This is part of the DRI project for the city of Oswego. The new restaurant was about a $423,000 investment, 9 jobs, full-time jobs, 10 part-time jobs, and it's busy up there these days in the summer, doing well. Camelot Lodge, this is the old YMCA building. Tony Paulding bought this facility and is converting it into a mixed-use facility. 10 market-rate apartments, and he's going to be building 6 market-rate townhomes on the site as well. It's about a $2.1 million project in the city of Oswego. This is a yoga massage business in the town of Scriba. It's woman-owned, and she's a veteran of the U.S. Air Force. We made a micro loan to her to help start her business. Tailwater Lodge, this project has been delayed somewhat because of cost of construction, but the plan to build a new 3-story, 25,000 square foot suites at the complex. This will be the 4th expansion of the Tailwater Lodge since they initially bought the closed school in Albion. This is a $3.2 million project, and Pathfinder Bank and the IDA is financing entities involved. We hope construction will start soon on this project. Another solar project, this one is in the city of Oswego. SSC Oswego 2. Summit Solar Capital is the developer. $3.5 million solar project, 4.5 megawatts of solar renewable power. Oswego School District Public Library, the IDA issued civic facility bonds for the library back in 2006. They were wanting to refi that bond issue. We were able to do it through the Civic Facility Corporation that was created for that purpose. $3.9 million in bonds were issued by refinancing and restructuring the bond financing with, at that time, low interest rates. I'm not talking about this time, but they did it. Fortunately, they did it when they did it, and they got a very, very good interest. It's going to save them probably about $500,000 in the balance of that debt and interest. Thank God they did it when they did it. The Tully's Good Times, they acquired the old Friendly's restaurant in the city of Oswego. And it's about a $1.1 million project, about 14 full-time jobs and 23 part-time jobs. It's primarily a takeout restaurant in the city, worked with the MBT Bank, and the IDA was involved in that project. The Village of Phoenix, the Looking Glass Salon, it was started in 2020. They are doubling the size of the salon to 5,800 square feet. Woman-owned business, 6 jobs associated with it. Interesting thing about this project, the building that they are in and leasing space in is also a building that the IDA assisted in a redevelopment of a mixed-use project. About 10 years
I was
ago.
going to say at least 10 years ago.
Yeah. A very successful salon business. Square Valley Trailblazer, they received CFA funding from New York State Parks. Was awarded $184,000 for $230,000 investment in snow trail grooming equipment. And Novellis has been publicly announced numerous times they're spending $130 million in upgrades to their facility. They will construct a new 72,000 square foot building that will house 3 new annealing furnaces. They're going to increase their hot mill capacity by 124,000 metric tons. And Novellis is the largest manufacturing employer in the county with 1,150 jobs. And I can remember back a number of years ago when Novellus had, at that time, Alcan had dropped to about 650 employees. And it was told, well, this is probably going to be about the way it's going to be going forward. And then they got into the aluminum for the automotive industry, and things just took off. And then before they invested this 130, they invested 500 million in the auto, and built 2 new facilities at the plant a few years back. So it's a good investment for Oswego County, and Novellus is certainly a good company.
Go too far. Everybody good here?
Did you skip one?
I don't think so. The slide's just not in there. Oh, there it is. We're having the same issue we had at the It's got a gremlin in it somewhere.
It's an NGI slide.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get to it.
It's your power plant.
There we go.
Okay.
Wanted.
The next great idea competition took place in 21, but this was the first time there were more than one winner. There were 3 winners, the first, second, third place. 6 Acres Farm Brewery was a winner with $50,000 award. North 40 Clover site hydraulic repair and fabrication business in Lacona was second with $25,000 award, and Moth and Flame Base Camp was number 3. Was a tourism-related business with $15,000. So we hope that going forward we'll be able to continue to have similar types of programs where we have multiple winners and not just one.
Well, Moth and Flame doesn't have a location.
They are looking at 2 locations, one in the town of Oswego and one in the town of Mexico. So they haven't fully decided yet where they're gonna
Place their
locate.
camps.
Yeah, they're to be determined. So, but they're down to 2. But
Very
also to add to that, so we had 3 winners, but we had 24 applicants total. So, and we had multiple other projects. We had one that was a project that was a semi-finalist that is now in a tenant over at our incubator that he never would have gone forward. He's a biotech company. He never would have gone forward and put together a business plan and developed this. He's a SUNY Oswego professor, if not for the motivation and incentive out there in business plan competition. So there's a lot of other winners, but these are the ones that actually won the competition.
Whether by competing you're a winner, you're making an effort to try to do something, create something. So hopefully they'll come back with more ideas, and hopefully we'll might be able to find a way to help to finance them outside of the NGI competition.
Yeah.
And the micro enterprise program in 2021, 3 classes, 46 graduates in the micro enterprise program, which is a very important program for small business development in Oswego County. Looking at the results of the Central New York Regional Economic Development Council CFA round 11. There were 19 projects in Oswego County that received funding, was awarded funding. Grants, around $5.7 million in grants were awarded. Total project investment for those 19 projects was about $21.9 million. Projects were, both cities got projects, 5 different towns, 2 different villages, and 3 were more countywide in scope, and there were 6 state agencies awarded funded, and those 6, ESDC with 6, and Environmental Facilities Corp with 7 were the 2 largest ones that were accessed. Overall, in 21, there were 32 projects that we were involved in and worked on. capital investment of about 167 million, 289 new and retained jobs, estimated new annual payroll was over $7 million for those projects. Investment per job of $579,000. The average pay per job was shortly a little bit under $33,000.
Just to add to that, it says new retained jobs 289. That doesn't include the jobs out at Novellus, the 1150. So if you were to add those in as retained jobs, you're looking at around 1,400.
We don't be overly bold.
The ordinance threat.
Since 1953, there's been about $5 billion of projects that OC and the IDA has been involved in. 29,500 round numbers in terms of new and retained jobs, and an average investment per job of $170,000. From a marketing standpoint, that's one of our major goals, is to promote and market, as Dave does with the tourism industry, promote and market in Oswego County for business development and growth. We had 13 print ads, 336 online ads. It's a program that has a little picture down at the bottom. It's a new ad we created last year from Made for Manufacturing that featured EJ USA in the ad. We've got a lot of help with our business and industries participating in some of our ads to promote the county. Some of the things that are going on now that were not included or referenced in the 21 annual report was the ribbon cutting in May for the Advanced Manufacturing Institute, which has been worked on for probably 4 or 5 years almost. So it's finally here at the Fulton campus, and it's and we expect it will be a very positive feature going forward in having to develop the workforce skill set that is needed for manufacturing. The manufacturing startup facility that's been proposed for the Nestle site in the city of Fulton, 30,000 square feet. We did secure 2 grants, one through the DRI in Fulton, been awarded $860,000, and we've been awarded $850,000 through a round of the CFAs for that project. It's about a $5 million project. We're working right now with the city of Fulton about the possibility in which they are in favor of moving the location. We did secure a 3-acre site for this project. Now we're thinking it may be, and the city agrees, if we push it a little bit further south, it will benefit the development of the Nestle site. We won't be chopping it up. We'll be going to the southern end of the Nestle site. The building size would remain the same. We're just trying to figure out the configuration of the site, and we think it too may help to save some development costs as well with that. So
Would also not be across from houses and things like that. I think it's mutually beneficial all around in terms of making that move for both the city and for us.
The next round of the CFA has been announced, round 12. Deadline is July 29th for applications, with the exception of applications to the Empire State Development. They will, again, this year, as they were last year, there will be cycles for that. But the 29th is still a drop dead date, but there will be probably 3 or 4 cycles of ESDC funding. The numbers are about the same, about $225 million from Empire State Development, about $750,000 overall with the 11 state agencies, and it opened up May 1 for submitting the CFA applications. Now we can really say that there's been a lot of applications from Oswego County, and in fact we had the greatest number of awards of all the counties in central New York, not in terms of dollar volume, but in terms of the number of projects. The local folks, the town folks, they now know how to work with the engineers and stuff, and they're getting help with applications, particularly for wastewater treatment and water projects, and they are doing very well in the competition. This is the expansion of the industrial park in Schuylkill. The EDA, Build Back Better. Do you want to mention a little bit on that also?
Sure, yeah. So we've made some progress reports to this committee earlier this year about this. Right now, I think I said last time, but I'll say it again. The originally we were looking at around a $10 million project, and EDA came around and asked everybody to kind of tighten the belt on project costs. So we've shortened it down to $7.75 million, the same amount of money from the IDA's match, but a lesser amount from the EDA. We're waiting to hear early this fall. We're one of 60 finalists. There was originally 529, Dave? Yeah, 529 applications nationwide and from territories, and the Central New York application, which our project is a part of, was selected as one of those finalists. So we're about 1 to 10% that are left in terms of potential projects to get funded. And from everything we've heard so far, the Central New York application is very competitive. It's talked about by EDA as an example of one that they're mentioning a lot, which we're taking as a good sign. And we've heard good things about our project in particular. Our project is I believe it's the only project would be considered rural in nature of the regional projects. There's another couple of them out in the Marcy, Utica area, but not necessarily rural, and then a lot of them are in Onondaga County. So we're feeling pretty good about this. With this funding, we would be able to put in roads, sewer, water. We're looking at some other avenues for electric and gas infrastructure that cannot be covered by the EDA grant. They'll only do public infrastructure, publicly owned infrastructure. But with these investments and creating shovel-ready sites, we have a strong possibility of attracting quite a few jobs associated with we're calling it the smart system sector. It's a combination of semiconductor as well as radar sensing and other industries that already have a foothold in central New York. And these investments, if made by EDA, will help to attract and these types of investments in these clusters. So we're also working with Onondaga County with the White Pine site that they have in northern Onondaga County on 31. That is in the running as a finalist for, shortlist anyway, for major semiconductor manufacturing opportunities, which will have overflow to the greater region. Somewhere around when these semiconductor manufacturers locate, these are big projects. These are $10 billion projects. When they locate, they bring somewhere around 100 companies with them in terms of companies that do business with them, that do services for them, and so we need to have sites ready to go to be able to to attract those companies. Because the semiconductor manufacturers need about 1,000 acres. We don't have 1,000 acres, but we have 185 acres that could support the support businesses that go along with that. So that's what we're looking at doing here, and it's a very exciting thing, and hopefully in a couple months we'll be able to state that we've secured the funding to go ahead and put in the infrastructure. That doesn't mean that the jobs will come with that, but you need to be able to do the investment to get the jobs.
Without the infrastructure, you know the jobs aren't
Right.
coming.
Yeah. So it's a very exciting thing, and hopefully we'll be able to report more on that soon.
Austin, can I just follow on that a little bit? So coupled with that is the green chips legislation that the governor announced in New York, combined with the federal semiconductor incentives, bringing everything back on shore. We think New York is going to be very competitive in this field. We're hearing more and more good things about how competitive this regional application is going to be, and anecdotally, even conversations about if White Pines lands a project, this site will fill up almost instantly. The good news is there's another 100 and some acres that's further north, so there's still room to expand there, but
All the way up to Bankrupt Road.
Yeah, let's worry about this one first, though.
for the time being, you know, if this regional project that we're working on comes together, there's a potential for a lot of investment and new jobs at that site. Hopefully, we can even grow it further. So.
And just want to also, I know I've said it before, but wanted to thank Dave. Dave is the one who helped really put together the phase 1 part of this application, and then the IDA kind of picked up and developed the phase 2 part of it. But we wouldn't have been able to do phase 2 if Dave hadn't really gotten the ball rolling on that.
Well, you had the harder job. I have to admit that.
Well, it was teamwork. It was good collaboration.
Grow Aeronautical, this can be updated. The company plans to acquire as a 3,600 square foot hangar. The financing for that now has been secured. It was approved last week. The IDA will be making a loan from its IRP program, which is a USDA funded program, and the Central New York Enterprise Development Corporation, affiliated with the Central New York Regional Planning and Development Board, will be matching our loan. So those two lenders will be financing this acquisition and expansion of this business. And we've been working with Rich Mitchell on the land lease deal and how that is structured. It is kind of some tricky financing when you're financing a building sitting on property that isn't owned by the owner of the building. But it's working out. Back in Scruple, the R&D Design and Associates is the first building on the left going into the industrial park. They're adding a 4,000 square foot addition for 3D printing with their facility. They moved into the industrial park about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Yeah. And that's going to create about five jobs. There's another full-service spa up in town of Sandy Creek. We were able to assist them acquiring the building that they have been leasing, and they will be expanding, be creating about another two jobs at the full-service spa. They've been in business for 2 years, and it's a nice operation. Highland Animal Hospital, Village of Central Square, town of Hastings. They are there now in a small, about 4,000 square foot facility. They bought an existing animal hospital. Now they are building a new 7,200 square foot new building. They will still maintain their existing building, but they're expanding their veterinary clinic, and they will be offering urgent care as well. It's a $2.3 million project. Create about 14 new jobs with the veterinary operation. Interesting thing about this this business, the primary vet, Allie Hawthorne, is local from the Oswego area, and she moved back to buy the existing small animal hospital. The veterinarian was retiring, and she came back here, and now she's quadrupling the size of our veterinary clinic and providing a service that's not readily available for our animals. So, and she's creating a hell of a lot of jobs. They're 15 now. They're going to be adding 14 more with the new facility. So,
Do you know if they're large animal as well or just small?
well, right now it's small, but she is talking about moving in that direction, getting into some large animals.
Moving.
Moving.
The move, okay, I got it, Dave. You're always on top of everything.
Well, the urgent care center is the only one we've got in the area is Syracuse.
I know, if you can get there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if you get there, yeah. No, that was a unique part of this. We attempted to get CFA financing for this project, and it was turned down not once but twice. Because of the uniqueness of offering urgent care, we felt that this should be considered, even though it is defined as a retail project, should be considered an exemption from the non-retail financing from ESDC. But we didn't make it, but they're doing the project anyway, just putting things together. So construction, it may have already started. It was due this month to start.
It's middle of July,
Okay.
so next week.
Another solar project, this one in Central in Mexico. Another 5 megawatt. 5 megawatts seems to be the common denominator for most of these projects. It's a $6.2 million project, and the company developing this, RIC Energy, was founded in Spain in 2005.
Yeah, those solar projects are done under community solar, where the maximum that they can do under that is 5 megawatts. So we're seeing a lot of them get larger, right up to the max that they can do.
Healthway Home Products in the village of Blasky, doing a 32,000 square foot expansion. It's underway right now, $2.8 million project. It's going to double their employment, adding 75 more jobs. And Fat Guy Burger. It just shows you the diversity from novellas to Fat Guy Burger. It's a food truck business. He's a graduate of the Micro Enterprise Training Program, so we made him a micro loan business. He's invested about $50,000 into the business and 3 jobs. He's already up and operating primarily in the Fulton area. We also, at the annual meeting, we recognized some award winners, as we normally do. For the Ally Award, it was presented to the Oswego County Airport. The Business Excellence Award was presented to Mentor Ambulance Service. And the Jobs Award was presented to Novellas for their 1,150 jobs that they have in Oswego County, the largest manufacturer in the county. The Entrepreneur Award, and Roy probably knows these folks, Richard and Elizabeth Hamilton, Grace Tyler Estate Winery in the town of Constantia. They were the recipient of the Entrepreneur Award. They've been in business since 2017. And for the Economic Developer Merit Award, that was presented to Mike Pollock, the retired CEO and president of Fulton Savings Bank. Mike is, for many, many years, he was on the board of operations in Oswego County and an officer for over 20 years. And good guy, done a lot of good stuff for the community, very active with a lot of different organizations, and he won't be missed because he's still going to be around. He's not moving away, so he's but he's a really, really good guy, and he actually at the annual meeting he made some pretty good comments, and he had this balloon trick, which was kind of neat. So okay, that was it for the annual meeting and the awards, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again next year.
Anybody have any questions? Frank?
Go to your committee first.
Well, I didn't see anybody's hand up other than yours, Frank.
Yeah. Well, I know we've asked it before, Mr. Treadwell, salaries for the IDA, Operations for the County.
IDA gets some salaries.
Yeah. Right, and Operations for the
They
County.
have been provided to share with the legislature.
They have been?
They have been for 3 years.
Don't know if I've ever seen them, so.
Well, I don't know about that, but I in the contract that we have with the county, we are required to provide the
Okay,
salary.
if you said that you gave them to the chairman, I'll ask why, we haven't received them. I don't know if you guys received any copies of their salaries? Okay, that's all you know. All right, second, it's gonna be a lot of them. But second, I see that the pluses you have here, but what are the minuses? What have we lost?
As
What else? Because we lost Sweet Inspirations in Fulton.
well, that's been reused.
Well, yeah, but we lost it. You had,
You
put it
lose,
up. You had put up, but then
you
you had put-
lose businesses.
I know.
It's life and death with businesses. They go, they die, they turn around, others come back.
Right, but you,
The only significant thing is the loss of Addis, which, quite frankly,
they're all significant. They're all significant to the city of Fulton and to Oswego County. You claim, so much income that you're gonna gain over, so many years with the companies. And then what happens is, the companies go down, but you don't let us know what we lost in that, because you lose not just the money that they were gonna gain, but we lose the money that we gave them as far as tax breaks.
how
and
would you
everything like
count?
that.
How would you count Silbright that was moving to Kansas in 1995? That is now here in the form of Huhtamaki, employing all the folks that Huhtamaki employ, one of the biggest manufacturers in the county. That would have been, it wasn't for Operations Oswego County and the IDA and the state of New York, that would have been sitting in Kansas.
Seal-Rite was bought by Huhtamaki.
What?
Okay. Seal-Rite was bought by Huhtamaki. In fact, Seal-Rite was bought by Phillips 66. Phillips
But when
66
it was
bought
moving,
Seal-Rite
when it was
in
moving, when it was
1964.
moving in 95,
Okay?
it was not owned by Huhtamaki.
Well, it was owned by Phillips 66. Okay? Owned that company in 1964. I know I lived there. My father worked there. Okay? I know who it was bought by. Okay? Seal-Rite was sold out. Maybe at Oswego Falls owned certain parts of it. But what I'm asking, sir, okay, is I'm asking for, you can't just keep going by, this is my win column, I don't have any losses, okay? You can't keep going that way. If you do, a coach will never get fired anywhere in this country. Everybody will always be happy because all you got is wins. But you don't just have wins, okay? We have losses. The restaurant up on Crosby Hill, okay? That was purchased. Remember, we touted that as so many employees that were going to be coming in there, so many, how much money they're going to make. And at the time, I questioned the amount because I knew the past owners. It was all good. That has been a loss, okay? I'm just looking for accountability, sir. That's all I'm looking for, okay? Now, you're not going to give me that, so let's go on to the...
Frank, can I just say one thing? Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's okay.
When businesses are lost, it's unfortunate when you have a business loss. However, I always look at it as an opportunity to get something better. When we lost Empire Fresh Cuts in the town of Oswego, they employed 40 people. We were able to attract Champlain Valley Specialty in there. They employed over 200 people. We would not have been able to attract Champlain Valley if that building did not become available. So I respect that and I understand that. However, it's an opportunity to do something greater. Addis employed 75 people. We may be able to get someone in there that employs 150, 200, 250 people, which we would not be able to do if Addis was still there employing 75 people. So I
understand what you're saying, but what you got to look at is I'm looking at the whole picture and the accountability of that picture. Okay, we don't just lose, okay, that company. We've lost all the money that we gave that company tax breaks on, and that company, those tax breaks that we gave them, okay, the value of that property raises the assessed value of the county, of the city, of the town, okay? So therefore, that means that if you reassess everything comes down, and now my $50,000 house is now worth $80,000 according to the reassessment. So I'm going to pay a little bit more in tax. But I don't want to get into that anymore because we're not going to get the losses. I know what they were, okay? The Schuylkill site, okay, when you develop all that, okay, is that going to come onto the tax rolls? Because I know right now it's not on the tax rolls. And do I think that it's going to come on the tax rolls? 20 years ago, I think it's when you purchased that site, wasn't it, at least?
No, we bought that site last year. The new site we're talking about?
No, I'm talking about the industrial park.
It was.
Isn't this in addition to the industrial park there, correct?
It was acquired in the late 70s.
Okay, all right. So that park, okay, an estimated value of that park is not on the tax rolls. And your new 185 acres is not going to be on the tax rolls. And in order for that to happen, the rest of us in the whole county have to come up with the money to make up for the tax loss of that property. Okay.
Wait a minute, you're getting zero now. You get
The property is assessed to something. If you own a farmland, don't you pay for all the land? You don't just pay for some of it, whether it's developed or not.
Right.
Okay. So I understand what
You're
you're
not
saying.
getting any money on it right now.
You're
The
getting
county's not
tax,
getting any money on it right now.
you're getting tax money on it.
The county's not.
You know what the taxes are on that 185 acres? Probably $3,000, $4,000.
It's still $4,000 that nobody else has to make up. You're gonna put in 185 million or whatever you said, the amount of money that you're gonna put in there. That is going to raise the assessed value of the county. It's gonna raise the assessed value of the town, and everybody's gonna wind up paying more to make up the difference. That's all I'm saying. Now, the parking lot that you're talking about at the Nestle site, I've heard that they're looking at Kit Haven for a parking lot there where you're planning on moving south. Is that going to interfere with that, or is that going to take that parking lot away from you?
We've already met with the mayor of Fulton and understand where they're looking at putting the parking lot. This is for Kiwanis. And this isn't going to impact that. No, it's going to butt up too, but it wouldn't roll over that side.
Right. Now the solar plants that you're talking about, what gain do we get from those?
The solar plants? every solar plant with the pilot is paying sometimes 10 times what the property was paying as agriculture.
10 times when they get, what, I think it's 40 years worth of tax pilot agreements, or
No.
30 years?
20.
20? Well, that's,
Or it's
yeah,
15.
there's one that's the state and there's one that's the county.
We
So-
can't control the state one. That, I believe, is 15 years.
Yeah. 15 years,
15 years.
Yeah.
So then we've got 20
Zero,
from the.
yeah.
from
Well,
the-
we don't do those, so.
But I know, I'm just saying, what I'm saying is, it's,
Understood.
okay?
We actually doing these, we're getting 20 years of income versus getting 15 years of absolutely no income. So they could go the other way and do the state program and everybody kind of loses out. So this is sort of a good way to get income and get more than it would be if it was vacant land, as well as the investment and the power produced that goes to the grid. A lot of these projects are being pushed heavily at the state level to try to diversify the.
I'm not saying anything against solar, that's not what I'm saying.
Yep.
But
Now,
based upon the audit that the IDA goes through, each year we calculate and provide, and it's audited, what taxes, normal taxes would be without a pilot and what the pilot is. The pilot payments right now on all projects combined, right now it's paying probably 75% of what taxes would be without a pilot. A lot of those companies wouldn't
that's
be
what they pay
here.
the pilot.
I mean, that one, Addis is the only one that hasn't paid a pilot. And they should be bankrupt. That's the only one. Tell me somebody else who hasn't paid a pilot.
I don't know the other ones.
Well,
We don't know.
there isn't.
We don't know.
Everybody's paid their pilots.
Okay? We don't know. All right. Now, on your incomes, okay, you had $7 million of incomes on the jobs that you said that, we created. There was some odd.
There was an estimated amount that would be the payroll. It would be the payroll of the new employees, not the retained employees, the new employees when they were hired. That's an estimate, that like you do any economic projections, you do estimates.
So how many were new employees out of the 289? Because I thought you said 289 new employees. Or is that 289
It's not there.
and
You have to back
retained?
out of it. You have to subtract those out, and back into it. The retained, I think it was 150.
Because with the 289 into the 7 million only comes up to $24,000 a year. Take home pay is about 19,000. Weekly take home is about
The average
374.
new. This is the average of the new employees, is that
Mhm.
considerable?
Yeah, I think that's only looking at the new jobs. That one it says estimated new annual payroll. That's the annual payroll related to that. So the 289 is new and retained jobs. So it's not broken down into new jobs and retained jobs. So that's why there's a discrepancy there.
Okay,
Back into it.
Yeah.
yeah, that's it.
Interesting questions, Frank. Does anybody else have any questions? I have one, only that does Operation Oswego County sponsor any programs? Do you give any financial support? I don't know if it's a possibility. What I'm thinking of is the P-TECH program, because that is such a seed program for skilled labor that would be for Oswego County for manufacturing, and it is such an asset. I didn't know if you guys, not you guys, I'm sorry, if Operation Oswego County would be able to support that type of a program. That was just my question.
Well, it depends on what level. Now, we support the Oswego County Renaissance, we support Fulton's block builders,
Okay, so there is a there is a possibility.
It's gonna be a modest donation because
Okay.
we're not for profit.
Okay,
We don't have a ton of money.
understood. I just thought it was
But-
such a tie-in with what
Yeah.
you do. I mean, it is such a seed program.
We have supported both directly and indirectly other workforce things, Advanced Manufacturing Institute, other things that are going on at Cuba Community College. So if there's an opportunity, we can assist in that way. We'd be interested to.
I just find that to be one of the most fascinating and productive programs that we have for the youth. I wish they could do this
We recognize.
for all the kids. The way that the educational aspect and what they come out with is just,
We recognized that program 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
As our ally.
yeah. And that's what I was just, I know that, I believe they're going to, David, I think they are going to go for ARPA funds as well. It's, the P-TECH program is just, and I was just wondering, all I could think of is, this is something that would tie in with you guys, with these kids who are going for Novellas and Budamaki and Constellation and everything, so.
It's extremely important right now, especially because as you have people who are in the industrial industries are aging out of jobs as mechanics and things like that, you're having, and it's not just an issue here in Oswego County, it's an issue nationwide of finding skilled people to fill those. So P-TECH and what they're doing and being able to refill that pipeline is going to be critical to the long-term success of Oswego County.
Hence my question, but yes.
Just to Frank's point on, touching again on pilots, you know, I've always been hesitant when you hear pilot comes up. I understand the power of that tool in attracting businesses to come here better than I think I ever did. But particularly in relationship to solar, the few solar projects that I've stuck my nose in, one in particular was in Tinker Tavern. And I liked the process that went through with the public hearing, even though public hearings we all know aren't very well attended. But Tinker Tavern intersection at 81 is a four-way on-off stop. Town of Richland invested a lot of money there years ago to put 12-inch water main in there to supply that area, thinking of what, you know, if the infrastructure they will come, something could happen. So when I first heard of a solar farm going there, of course my interest went up immediately. Until I realized the particular piece of property that where the solar farm was going to go, which was a very wet, swampy area, had been, and even as when there was an agriculture area, it was never used in any time in my lifetime I can remember. And it was, you know, 8-foot, 10-foot high brush. And that's where the solar farm is going, adjacent to, parallel with 81. But certainly not in a
North of
location.
Tinker Tavern or south of Tinker Tavern?
It's north of Tinker Tavern, just north.
Just for that dugout area, like where they used to have parking in there, like, you know.
Or that sign.
Even north of that, yeah, even a little north of that. But, and the fact that it really would not interrupt potential growth there to utilize that main. So we had a swamp area that was, I think we were getting $200 in taxes a year. And it was never going to be developed for anything else that was really useful, without tons and tons of yards of some kind of fill and development. So here was a case where it really paid off, and the school, the town, and the county are receiving some tax funds credit. So I think, you know, I think I'm not the only one cognizant of pilots when we hear pilots. And used correctly, sometimes it wins those projects for our company. So that's what I think that there was a particular time period.
Well, when you're competing for businesses, as we all are, if we didn't have pilots, every county has pilots, and we would lose out significantly if we weren't able to offer pilots. It's just a way of doing business, I guess. Joe, do you have anything to report?
Sure. Just a quick update.
Quick.
We apologize for taking up too much time, John.
Oh, no problem, no problem, I'll be fast. So we are, I'll just give you a quick update on a couple of our more active programs right now. But we are sincerely busy with this technical assistance to residents and municipalities of Oswego County. We're working on planning for educational, forestry programs, agriculture, and water quality projects with our projects with all sorts of different landowners. And then beyond that, we do have a few grants that we're working on, either getting contracts together and things of that nature. So definitely a very, very busy year from that aspect. We do have 2 invasive species programs that are quite active right now. So from about May until the end of July, we have our giant hogweed program, and we have around 45 to 50 sites that we're actively monitoring, mapping, and working with a contractor to get those treated. And the numbers of plants are definitely down from past years. You always have the ones that pop up in new, neighborhoods and new sites and things of that nature. It's quite difficult. Obviously, eradication really is not necessarily possible on maybe a wide scale, but the control aspect is definitely working. A lot of places that had thousands of plants now have hundreds or even tens of plants. So from that aspect, it's definitely working. Been a pretty successful year for that. And like I said, that will continue until July in case somebody does find. Right now they happen to see the white flower head, and you can spot that probably a few hundred yards away if you know what to look for. In regards to our water chestnut program, we are just a couple weeks away from the herbicide treatment. We'll be spraying around 130 acres this year, and that ranges from the Three Rivers area all the way to Minetto. There are various patches that we have been monitoring. We also have just done spot checks on those to make sure what is planned for last year is still viable. So we do spot check those, and then we'll also map to make sure we're planning for next year. And we do have some of the mapping done by our intern crew. We do have a crew of 6 this year, and they're doing a fantastic job. We trained them over 1 week, a little over 1 week, on everything from water safety to boat safety, CPR, GIS, and GPS training, a few other different things, just getting used to obviously working in a government office, that kind of thing. So lots of different training, and then starting right that second week, they're pretty actively pulling from about like I said, just early that second week. And so they really only had about 8 or 9 days active on the water, and they've already pulled about 5,000 pounds, which is, they were in canoes for almost all of that. We just, as of recently, that should really increase this year. We have a pretty hefty goal for them in mind, and they should be at a point where they're pulling probably over 1,000 pounds, if not 2,000 per day. We do have a motorboat now. It's a 16-foot John boat with a 15 horsepower motor on it. And it really doesn't matter how far away you are from that patch. It's that much quicker than a canoe, obviously. We still have 2 canoes on the water with 4 individuals and 2 go in the boat. It's not applicable everywhere, really. The Oswego River, maybe in Nida Lake, we can utilize that. Some of these other smaller water bodies, we still need canoes and kayaks to get to, but they seem to be doing a great job with that. And we've seen with those populations, there's some that are literally non-existent from last year because of the herbicide or pulling. Some increase in density. It seems to even out at around, we've been keeping that in between 100 to 150 acres. And then around like 10 years ago, there was actually over double that. So at least it's been, been at bay in that regard. Beyond, and it'll work for it actually goes by quite quickly this month into August. Their wrap-up week, they do work on lots of mapping, a report for us. That mapping really helps us guide our next year's treatments, and so they wrap up, I think, August 12th. The herbicide treatments, like I said, the week of the 18th in July, and then a follow-up treatment if it's needed to get the boat stripes removed. Is as the airboat goes through, it displaces the water chestnuts, so they don't always receive product to be able to cause mortality. So that will be done in the second week of August. if it's needed. And we have lots of requirements. That type of program is planning from basically January until the day it's actually done. And then there's even some follow-up requirements by way of New York State law and permit requirements. And then beyond that, just a few quick things. We do have available the mosquito dump kits, which are to help control mosquitoes on more of a homeowner basis. We do have those available to the homeowner right now, and
What's
they
the
are.
supply of that? How many more do we have?
It's quite low right now. There's just a few more boxes left, but we're putting in a new order, so we can get another like 20 cases available.
We've had a lot of complaints of mosquitoes this year, and I've been telling people to go there to get some.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have them as of now. Like I said, very low supply. We're hoping within the next week we'll restock that, and then they are at most towns as well.
Right.
So it's whether or not they chose to participate and get a case from us. And hopefully we'll have those at least through the end of August. That's the plan. Hopefully in September if they last. Just other quick things. We did get asked to be on committees for 2 different 9-element plans, which are watershed plans for the New York State, approved by the New York State DEC. Those are obviously long-term goals. They take a few years to put together, but the intent is those to kind of open the door for funding for various projects. So we're happy to be involved with those, one in Oneida Lake and one in the Sandy Creek region. And then beyond that, one other thing I recently did was complete some training on stormwater to get, at some point, hopefully by next spring, I'm looking to get certified as a stormwater inspector, and that does allow you to teach the course as well. For those of you who don't know, stormwater is if you drive by a construction project, DOT project, you'll see the perimeter outlined by silt fence, things like that, different practices. You're keeping clean water clean. Filtering out sediment-laden water, and that's what you can also teach with that 4-hour course. And at one time, you can get perhaps 50, engineers, construction workers, inspectors, things of that nature present, and it should be a big bonus for the county, I think. So.
Anybody have any questions for Joe? Frank?
Oswego River across from the Addis plant. That is starting to get, you guys, I've been asking this for, umpteen numbers of years. We're gonna spray there, we're gonna take care of the growth there.
I put you're just to the north of Fulton.
Just south of Fulton.
Just south of Fulton.
Just south of Fulton on 57. There's there's a thing there.
Yes.
And also, there's an area on 48 that is inundated with people's.
I'm sure it is. I know that the one you're talking about, it definitely is on the list to get sprayed, and I'm sure the other one is. If you have a specific address.
Yeah, I'll give it to you next time.
Sure, no problem. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I know you guys, you guys
cover it.
It's an ongoing thing. It's not going to go away for long.
Correct. Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Okay, and Dave, I know we got another meeting coming in 5 minutes. David, did you want to give, he's got something that he just wanted to, because we had people had some questions.
Before you leave, you guys asked about vet tax and you asked about farmers market stops and routes. So here's a copy of both. Vet tax report starts at 2011, goes up through 2021, so that's the last 10 years.
I gotta chase you now to get one?
Yep.
Yep.
You can get after work. You got up, now you lose, on your feet, lose your seat.
And then underneath that are the farmers market routes and stops. If you have any questions later, feel free to reach out to me. And you'll see on a couple of places on the vet tax, there's some numbers and graphics in the side column. That was just like, I was totaling up what we were at that point.
Thank you, David, for that. As we are backing right up, do I have a motion to? Second. Thank you, everybody. Great meeting.